room full here of startup founders, entrepreneurs. In many ways, there are parallels between the journey that you've had and the journey that they're on, because it's high intensity, it's high pressure, it's a lot of passion, it's all heart. But how have you been able to cope with the ups and downs? And there's been plenty of them. What is the coping mechanism? Is there something that you've been able to design over the course of the years that's helped you to get through the really rough patches?
I think the belief. I think that is probably what I'll say is probably the biggest strength that you can have, belief in yourself. And if you're not your biggest cheerleader, God knows there's nobody else out there, because especially as young girls, and playing a sport, like I'm just trying to draw a parallel, anytime you start doing something new, you're more often told you cannot do something than you can. And that is just how it works. That's the nature that we live in and the society we live in. The minute you say, I want to do something outside, but what makes you think you can do it? Nobody's ever done it. I mean, yeah, nobody's ever been #1 in the world from our country, but I got there, So that is the belief that you need to have, that you are, how to become the best version of yourself, how to get the best out of yourself. And I mean, I've been through, obviously, as you know, like any other athlete, has been through so many. We lose on a weekly basis and we have to come back. In a draw of 32 or 64 that we play every week, there's only one winner. Everybody else loses. So everybody at any given point has lost a match that week, except the person who's won the tournament. And some people win a tournament once a year. Some people win a tournament, if you're Novak Djokovic, 10 times a year. But not everybody is Novak Djokovic. So you go through those, and you have to keep believing in yourself. You have to believe in not just your ability, but you have to believe in the work that you've put in, the kind of background search you've done about things that you want to achieve. You have to believe in your team, and the team needs to believe in you. So it's a huge team effort, but it's also self-belief. So that's what I think got me through most of my lulls, so to say.
I remember you said once, and it's important again. It seems like a comment that is a nice headline, but there's a lot of truth to that. You said that, especially as a woman, you have to learn to develop a thick skin. It's not easy. Right? I mean, you're in the public eye, you're being scrutinized, you're being judged, you're being evaluated. Every single decision of yours on the court, off the court, is up for discussion and national debate. How do you develop that thick skin where you say it's okay for me to make the choices that I'm making without seeking external validation?
Actually, at 36 today, I can tell you that it's a lot easier. But trust me, when you put a 16-year-old, that's when I first had my first tryst with media, and I'm like, oh my God, like all my friends are just worried about how to bunk school and meet boys in a coffee shop, and I'm here sitting in front of a press conference, and they're asking me questions about world, and I'm like, what am I doing? It's very difficult, because you're almost thrown into this world that you're not ready for. You don't know who you are as a 16, 17, 18-year-old. You're still trying to discover who you are, discover yourself. You're trying to, you have pimples on your face, you're a little overweight here and there, and there's comments about everything. And it's very difficult as a young girl growing up to that in a complete, like you feel almost naked in many ways. So it's very difficult. At 36, though, I find humor in it for most part of it, unless there'll be a day when I'll get up from the wrong side of the bed and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to reply to this guy. But most of the time I find humor in it, and that's the way to deal with it, because in today's day of social media and media, where we are so exposed as public figures, we are so exposed all the time, and it's by choice. I've put myself in this position. So if I'm going to take the pros of being in the media and in the spotlight, I have to accept the cons, and that's an acknowledgement I need to make. But it's a lot easier for me with the experience of so many years to say I can do that. So being thick-skinned is very important. Funny enough, I'll tell you a story. Yesterday, I was on a flight to Mumbai, and Harleen Deol, who's a 24-year-old cricketer, the Women's World Cup cricket team was coming back. And she was sitting right next to me. I actually didn't know her name. I knew she was a cricketer because I saw her. And she started talking to me. And she was so sweet and she was so nice, and she started asking me, you know, just these questions, because I've also signed with a cricket league just now. So she was like, I'm so excited you're coming to cricket. And she was, I mean, she was so young. And I said, oh, you know, bad luck, you guys lost, you had a solid tournament in the semi-final. And she was like, yeah, but the media, they were killing us. They were so after us. And she's like, it's been 4 days since they lost. And she was like, मैं अभी भी सोच रही हूँ, दीदी, पता नहीं, you know, they're still talking about how badly we played. And I said, but if you're gonna take 4 days to get over a loss, Harleen, it's going to become very difficult for you. Like, trust me, you need to take a night and you need to get over it, because that's the only way athletes can work. So these are the kind of athletes, that's the pressure you feel when you're 24. You know, where she's thinking about it for 4 days, she's sitting on a plane and she's like, I'm going for IPL now, but they're still, imagine I have to face the media. And it is something that all athletes deal with. And I think people sometimes forget that we are human. They forget that we feel emotion, we're in a high pressure job all the time, you know. If you have a bad day, maybe you'll know about it, maybe your family will know. If we have a bad day, the entire world knows about it, and they write about it, and they have an opinion about it. And imagine dealing with that as a young, you know, young 24-year-old, 22-year-old with that much spotlight on you. So you have no choice but to be thick-skinned, because if you let it get to you, you're not going to get there. I promise you, you're not going to get there, because you'll have multiple breakdowns on the